Okay guys, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Now, fasten your seatbelts. Here we go. Okay guys, I'm back and it's Tuesday, May 19th, and it's 10:15 p.m. My gosh, you guys are looking amazing. Well, let's just jump right into whatever we're going to jump into here. Now, I have 2 videos prepared. That's right, 2. And I actually have enough for 3, but there's not even a chance that I'm going to get to 3 videos tonight. So I'm getting a late start. So anyway, what I'm going to do is I'm going to start with the news. I do have the Q posts ready to present, but I'd like to start with the news because it's a very good place to start. And that way we will get through the news, and then if anything should happen that I can't do another video if my voice gives out or what have you, then I can pick up the Q ones tomorrow. But my hope is to get through both of them tonight and start fresh tomorrow with, I'm sure there's going to be more Q posts tomorrow, and there's definitely going to be more news. There's always news. So I do want to thank some people. And I do appreciate it because, you know, during this time, donations, of course, have been down because so many people are out of work. So many people are really struggling. I really appreciate those of you that do contribute. If you can, don't ever, ever, ever feel obligated at all. You are as welcome can be here, and you always will be. All right. But I want to thank the following people: Melanie Winans from Rockville, Maryland, and Kay Doro, Flat 23 from Glasgow. Wow, that's awesome. And Anonymous, East Dallas Alice, I love that name, East Dallas Alice. And Catherine Toon from Indiana. Also picked up a new Patreon subscriber, Mary. So welcome aboard, Mary, and thank you. The rest of you that donated via coffee, thank you so much. I appreciate it, and it does make a big difference. All right, well, let's just jump into the news. I've got a lot here, probably enough for 2 videos, just with news alone, but I'm going to save some of those items for tomorrow because I know I'm not going to get through them all tonight, but you never know. I might just not be in a chatty mood and be able to get through them all, or, you know, I might just want to feel like chatting your hind legs off. We'll just have to see how it goes. But let's just jump in here. This is from The Blaze. And some of these are maybe a couple days old, but most of this is pretty fresh news. Like this is from yesterday. Como refuses accountability in nursing home scandal, says vulnerable people were going to die anyway. That's not true. And rightfully so. The Blaze said disgusting, and it is disgusting. You can't just say, well, you know, vulnerable people are going to die anyway, so let's just help them along, which is what he's saying, right? That's how I take it. Well, they're going to die anyway, might as well help them along. You know, they're old, they lived a good life. We don't need them. They're just sucking up our resources. That's how a lot of them think, really. And, you know, you can tell a lot about society by how it treats its elderly and the very young. We're aborting our young and we're euthanizing our elderly. If you don't think that that's happening, then you are very naive because, well, maybe it's not happening as widespread in the States. I'll give you that, but it's most definitely happening up here. I know that for a fact. So, anyway, let's see what this says. New York Governor Andrew Cuomo issued a directive on March 25th requiring nursing facilities to accept patients recovering from coronavirus. Now, first of all, just that statement alone is asinine. Why on earth would they accept patients recovering from coronavirus when they're still shedding the virus and able to pass it on to others? Why would he put them in with the most vulnerable population there is? Why would he do that? Well, I guess if you're not paying out those benefits to the elderly, it puts a little bit more money in the state coffers, doesn't it? I don't know if that's his motivation. I suspect it is. But anyway, that order turned out to be a death warrant for thousands of New York State's most vulnerable people. All told, more than 5,400 New Yorkers have died in nursing facilities from the coronavirus, forcing Cuomo to reverse his policy last week. Well, it's about time. It's about time. You take 5,400 people, all of whom are probably getting something from Social Security. You add all that money together. It's a lot of money that the government saved. Not saying that that is, and I don't believe for a moment that that is the way President Trump feels. I do believe that he values the citizens, and it doesn't matter whether that citizen is able to contribute. Obviously, these elderly people have contributed their whole lives and are treated like dogs in death. It's awful. Anyway, to make matters worse, New York officials have also admitted to intentionally miscounting nursing home deaths by only counting residents who died from COVID-19 in the facility itself, not residents who died after being transferred to a hospital for serious treatment. That's a little bit dishonest, if you ask me, because you would think that most of them didn't just die there. They were transferred to the hospital before they died because they were obviously showing signs and symptoms before they died. So, yeah. Okay, let me just come down here. But the Democratic governor is not interested in accountability. Cuomo was confronted on Sunday by a reporter who asked for his response to families demanding accountability and justice. Governor, what do you say to families who have suffered losses inside nursing homes? The reporter asked. They're looking for accountability and they'd like to see justice. Cuomo responded by explaining no one would face consequences for the disastrous policy because vulnerable people were going to die anyway. That is the most disgusting, despicable thing I have heard in a long time. And I would expect that out of the mouth of Pelosi or, the likes of her, Schiff, those guys. Cuomo, I'm not under any illusions that he's a good guy, but really, I didn't think he was that hard-hearted, cold-blooded. But apparently, he is. He said, the comment is this, and I have those conversations all day long with people who have lost people, right? We lost 139 people yesterday in hospitals. Who is accountable for those 139 deaths? Well, how did we get justice for those families who had 139 deaths? What is justice? Who can we prosecute for those deaths? Nobody. Mother Nature, God. Okay, well, first of all, that is a logical fallacy right there, because he's equating 139 people who were taken to the hospital and died in hospital with intentionally taking somebody that is COVID positive and putting them in the most vulnerable putting them among the most vulnerable population there is. And in a facility like that, it's all going through the ventilation system. Plus, the nurses, they're not emergency room nurses that are trained to, a lot of these are just, personal care workers and so forth. And they're not, and this is what has happened in the nursing home here, because the people there would be a COVID patient and they would be wearing the PPE in and, have the mask and gown and everything, but then they'd go from that room into the next without changing. Well, what do you expect is going to happen? And again, equating deaths, of people that go to the hospital and later die to what he did, which is intentionally killing people. Yes, they deserve justice. Absolutely they do. Where did this virus come from? People are going to die by this virus. That is the truth. Best hospital system on the globe, I believe we have. Best doctors, best nurses who have responded like heroes. Every medication, ventilators, the health system wants for nothing. We worked it out, so we always have available beds. Nobody was deprived of a bed or medical coverage in any way. But that's not what the people were asking. That's not what they were asking. He's not taking responsibility because he thinks that it was all right. He doesn't see anything wrong with what he did. And still people died. Older people, vulnerable people are going to die from this virus. That is going to happen despite whatever you do, because with all our progress as a society, we can't keep everyone alive. Despite what everything you do, and older people are more vulnerable, and that is a fact. and that is not going to change. Okay, well, we're not arguing that older people are vulnerable. Duh. Yeah, of course they are. So why would you take a COVID positive person and put it in the midst of the most vulnerable population? That's what people want to know. Cuomo. I think he should be charged with murder. That's what he did. He murdered those residents. I don't care. I know you probably think I'm going way too far. Well, I love old people. I love them. I really do. You know, my parents are old people and I love them. And I think that they're valuable. They're very valuable to me. And you know something? My mom taught school for, well, her whole life. Her whole life. She taught school. She was an English teacher, and which is where I got my love of English. And so she's so full of all this knowledge to pass on. And I find that with the older generation. I love to sit down with the older generation. Love it. Because they're full of wisdom. You ask them about what was it like serving in the war, or what was it like living here, or tell me about what it was like growing up on a farm. Their eyes light up and they would love to pass on their knowledge. And you know something? I've learned some of the best things in life from older people. I love them. They're full of wisdom and they've got the time to tell you about it. So anyway, I think what he did was murder. I really do. Maybe manslaughter, not premeditated. I mean, he wasn't, well, I don't know. I was going to say, I don't think he, thought he was going to kill them. Yeah, I think he did, because I don't know how anyone could be that stupid, really. Anyway, but not everyone wants the governor to get off so easy. I don't. Representative Elise Stefanik has called for a federal investigation into Cuomo's policy in addition to the intentional undercounting of nursing home deaths. It's the same thing up here. Almost everyone that's died up here has been in a nursing home. Why is that? Don't you think they should take extra precautions instead of quarantining all the healthy people? Why don't they quarantine those that are ill and keep them away from vulnerable populations? I don't know. That doesn't seem like that. Don't you think these people could come up with this on their own? Of course they could if they weren't so evil. Today, I joined my New York GOP colleagues in the House to call for a federal investigation of Cuomo's failed nursing home policies. Now they admit they unethically changed the way they report nursing home deaths, an inexcusable tragedy for New York. Need answers, Stefanik said. Now, even New York Democrats are joining the call for an independent investigation, Newsday reported. Yeah, I mean, all Democrats aren't evil people. They're not. Now, some of the people that are leading the Democrats, yeah, they're evil. Textbook definition of evil. But there are good, decent people that have, that are in the Democrat Party, and I'm not willing to say that there's not, because there are. And they're calling for this. Like, even they realize, yeah, that's not right. What they did was wrong. Very wrong. Are our old people dispensable now, just like our babies? I mean, we're throwing our babies away, literally, just throwing them in the trash and using their body parts to make money and products. Yes, products. And is that extended now to the older people? We just throw them away? Are they just expendable? We don't need them anymore? Anyway, the governor's flip-flopping policies on nursing homes must be held accountable, said State Representative Ron Kim. We live in a democracy where no one person should raise their hands and say, we did our best, and diminish any calls for independent oversight hearings. More than 5,000 vulnerable seniors died, Kim added. And, if this had been Trump, if this was a Trump policy, could you imagine? They'd impeach him over it. Really, they probably would. And yet this guy does it and nobody says too much. I think there should be definitely an investigation, because that was done on purpose and nobody can convince me otherwise, because I don't think anyone is that stupid. All right. Okay, I took a while there, but you know what? This is what I feel like doing tonight, so I'm going to do it. I probably should be doing the Q post, but they'll wait till tomorrow if I if I do 2 videos on this, I don't know. Maybe it won't take 2 videos. Who knows? Well, with the way I'm going now, it'd probably take 4 videos. Okay, let's look at this. Okay. Let me see here. Okay, drugs giant AstraZeneca will make 30 million doses of the Oxford CV vaccine by September if it works, and the UK will be the first to get it. Business Secretary Alok Sharma announced yesterday evening that a global licensing deal has been signed between Oxford University and the pharma firm as part of an £130 million plan to vaccinate half the UK population. Wow. They're really going to town on this vaccination, aren't they? Yeah. And, like, since when can you vaccinate for a virus? I mean, think of it. I'm not aware of anything else that we vaccinate for that's actually a virus. So what is this really about? Well, we know in part, but I can assure you we only know in part. Oxford scientists have already begun their first trials in humans. The firm will make 100 million doses of the vaccine over time. If it proves to prevent the infection, the half of Brits would be in line to get one. In order to succeed as soon as possible, Mr. Sharma announced a fresh £84 million in cash for the 2 universities to scale up production of their groundbreaking potential vaccines. £65.5 million is earmarked for Oxford and £18.5 million for Imperial. That on top of £47 million already handed out to scientists who are racing for a cure to the disease raging across the world. This will mean the UK will be the first country to get access to the Oxford vaccine, should it be successful. Oxford has finished its first phase of human trials this week, with everyone planned having received their vaccine doses on schedule. Imperial are on track to start their trial in June, with a second one by October. It came as Boris Johnson vowed to gradually make it easier for Brits to see their family and friends. As he revealed, Britain has met 3 out of 5 tests to start lifting lockdown measures. The UK recorded the lowest level of deaths today since the 24th of March, of just 170 since yesterday. Business Secretary Mr. Sharma said, "Our scientists are at the forefront of vaccine development. The deal with AstraZeneca means that if the Oxford University vaccine works, people in the UK will get the first access to it, helping to protect thousands of lives. The agreement will deliver 100 million doses in total, ensuring that in addition to supporting our own people, we are able to make the vaccines available to developing countries at the lowest possible cost. The UK continues to lead the global response to find a vaccine, and the government is backing our scientists to do this as quickly as possible." Don't you think it's interesting that all countries say the exact same thing, that they're leading the response to finding a vaccine? I know Canada's saying that, China's saying that, US is saying that, now the UK is saying that. So which country is? And Health Secretary Matt Hancock added, "Our injection of a further £84 million for a CV vaccine is a great step forward in our national effort." However, Boris Johnson has been stark with the public, admitting we may not get a vaccine. He said in the past, a max vaccine or treatment may be more than a year away. Indeed, in a worst case scenario, we may never find a vaccine. Well, if they do, I think, if I'm not mistaken, I think it would be the first vaccine for a virus. Because I don't think there's any way to vaccinate against a virus. And I don't understand why we'd need it anyway, because if they prescribed the drug, which would take less than $10 for a prescription, and it knocks it out, why can't they just prescribe people that get it the drug and be done with it? Well, we know they couldn't make money that way, because the drug's 40 years old? And I mean, if it's unsafe, then somebody should tell all the people that have lupus that are on it, all the people that have rheumatoid arthritis, all the people that take it for malaria. I've taken it. I didn't have side effects. was perfectly fine. I didn't get malaria, and I really was in the jungle. I mean, the jungle. No running water, no electricity, no stores. I mean, I was in the jungle, and I didn't get malaria. So this is a wonder drug. It's one of the top drugs in the world, because you think about how many places in the world have a problem with malaria. All through Central America, South America, places in, I don't know about Europe, but definitely Africa. So yeah, and I'm sure there's places in East Asia and that have it as well. So malaria, it's a big deal. It's a really big deal. And this drug has been treating it. It is the treatment for it and prevention. It's prophylactic. And the same thing with, the virus. I mean, people can take this prophylactically and not get it. Also, it's got to be very safe, because people that's the standard treatment for lupus, as far as I'm concerned, as far as I've read and my understanding, and as well for rheumatoid arthritis, it's routinely given. So I don't know what the big deal is, except that it's not $1,000 a pill. So it's cheap, and nobody really gets rich because it's past its, a drug holds a patent when it's first developed, and that patent goes for so many years. And because the reasoning is that company developed that drug and spent all the time and resources and everything to get FDA approval. So they give a company a period of time where they can recoup that, everything they spent in developing it and everything else. And they allow the company to recoup that because it's fair. Then after that amount of time, they let the patent expire, and nobody holds a patent, which means that anybody can produce that drug in a generic form. And so any number of companies could have a generic form of the drug. And nobody then, the money isn't concentrated in one area, and nobody makes a lot of money because the drug cost then comes down. And the drug is one of the cheapest things you can take. So anyway, all right, let's go back now. Just wanted to show you that, and we've got more. We've always got more. Now, this is a little bit out of the norm of what we've been talking about recently, but I did want to show you this because it broke my heart. It really broke my heart seeing this. All right. Oh, I hate all these ads. Look at this girl. She is absolutely a gorgeous young girl. She's 17 years old. Well, she was. And look at her. She's just like a little pixie girl. Anyway, 17-year-old girl was beheaded by her ex-boyfriend after breaking up with him in Sweden. It's alleged Wilma Anderson vanished on November 14th last year, and police found a body part 2 weeks later, which was later revealed to be her head. Her ex-boyfriend, Tishko Ahmed Shabazz, was arrested at the time and has now been charged with her murder, which he denies. Of course he would. And I think, if I'm not mistaken, up here it says that he is a migrant. Swedish girl was decapitated by Iraqi-born boyfriend 23, who wrapped her head in aluminum foil after she broke up with him. Well, isn't that special? I guess he figures that if he can't have her, nobody can. It's tragic. After she broke up with him in case that has shocked the country. Well, yeah, I would say that it has shocked the country, because if that doesn't shock people, I don't know what would. Look at her. She had her whole life ahead of her. Her whole life. Absolutely tragic. Okay, let me see here. According to Human Rights Monitor, HRS, the suspect was born in Iraq and took up Swedish citizenship in 2014. Hundreds of volunteers had joined the search for Wilma after she was reported missing in Udavala on November 17th, 3 days after she was seen. The body part was found on November 28th in a grim discovery, which was announced the following day, bringing the search to an end. Wilma's boyfriend had already been arrested by then and had been in custody ever since. Well, I'm glad that he's in custody. Don't want him to ever be able to do that to another girl. Okay, he's been in custody. The indictment claims that Wilma was killed on November 14th, the day she went missing, and alleges that her boyfriend cut up her body. So, I guess she broke up with him. He didn't like it. I guess if he couldn't have her, nobody could. And then he goes a step further and mutilates the body by cutting it up. Absolutely. And can you imagine the parents of that girl, what they have gone through with this? According to Expressen, Shabazz is accused of hiding Wilma's head in a travel bag where it was wrapped in tape and aluminum foil. Police also found blood on the floor of his apartment and traces of Wilma on a large kitchen knife, it is alleged. The suspect has retained a body part for an unknown reason and got rid of the rest of the body, the police chief said. Prosecutors claim that he murdered Wilma by subjecting her to repeated violence. The rest of Wilma's body has never been found, and relatives have urged people to continue their search. We want to find our daughter and sister. It's completely inhumane that we go through. So please do not stop looking for Wilma, her mother said. Her mother, Linda, told Swedish media. I get so distracted by all this flashing media. It's absolutely crazy. So yeah, I hope people are observant. If they see something aberrant in water or terrain, that people have their eyes open. Relatives said that Wilma had gone to her ex-boyfriend's house to pick up her things after ending the relationship. It also claimed that neighbors heard screaming from the apartment and that Shabazz lied to Wilma's parents by claiming she had left the flat alive. However, that was probably difficult to do without her head. You know, it's difficult to leave somewhere alive when your head is in somebody's duffel bag. Shabazz denies all the allegation, telling investigators, "You forget that this is a girl that I have loved and that I have lived my life perfectly." The trial is due to begin on May 26th. Oh, I hope he is in prison forever. That's disgusting. It's disgusting. This is a girl that I've loved. Oh, I didn't do it. I've lived my life perfectly. It said Wilma's coat and handbag were allegedly still hanging in the closet, raising doubts over Shabazz's claims. Unbelievable. Unbelievable. And stuff like this seems to be happening more and more when the migrants, are clashing with other societies. And I don't know. Some of them are very, very violent people. Not all, but some. Okay. All right. Well, let's go back here. This has Trump beside it, so I bet it's President Trump. What do you bet?
Returning from a Camp David weekend, President Donald Trump sounded a positive note on coronavirus.
Tremendous progress is being made on many fronts, including coming up with a cure for this horrible plague.
Before offering a darker assessment of his predecessor.
He was an incompetent president. That's all I can say. Grossly incompetent.
Trump responding to comments from former President Barack Obama in a virtual graduation ceremony, where he accused the government of a real-world failing on coronavirus.
This pandemic has finally torn back the curtain on the idea that so many of the folks in charge know what they're doing.
Obama's comments mark his first public rebuke of President Trump's handling of the pandemic.
A lot of them aren't even pretending to be in charge.
President Trump resorting to his preferred medium to return fire, tweeting, "The Obama administration is turning out to be one of the most corrupt and incompetent in U.S. history." With HHS Secretary Alex Azar clarifying President Trump's suggestion on Friday that his so-called Operation Warp Speed could produce a vaccine by the end of the year.
It's not a pledge, it's a goal.
Meanwhile, Democrats are planning to investigate the firing of the Inspector General at the State Department after Secretary Mike Pompeo recommended that the president dismiss him. Steve Winnick was looking into allegations, according to a Democratic aide, that Pompeo improperly used a political appointee to perform personal tasks for him and his wife.
The president has the right to fire any federal employee, but the fact is, if it looks like it's in retaliation for something that the IG, the Inspector General, is doing, that could be unlawful.
And Hans, we just got new details on what the Inspector General was investigating.
Yeah, according to two congressional officials, the IG was looking into whether or not Pompeo made a member of his staff, a political appointee, walk his dog, pick up his dry cleaning, and make reservations for the secretary and his wife.
Hey, NBC News fans, thanks for checking out our YouTube.
Yeah, ridiculous. Okay, you know what? If he has somebody, and I heard President Trump talking about this as well. He said because somebody asked him, and he said, well, I don't know anything about it. And then he said, well, apparently he had them walk his dog, and he goes, yeah, so, he's like, what if he's busy on a call with, Xi Jinping or whoever, then, and he says, hey, do you mind walking my dog? I mean, really, it's, I don't know. I mean, next to Joe Biden stripping down nude in front of his Secret Service, his female Secret Service members, then I think that is very, very minute and stupid. Because you know what? I've worked for a boss that I walked his dog. I even babysat his dog when he and his wife were away. I mean, I didn't think it was a big deal. It was like, yeah, sure, I don't mind. But now I wouldn't have if it was a boa constrictor or something like that. But, not that you walk those. They probably wouldn't like that. Okay, so anyway, and I noticed, at first it was like, they're not, what did Obama say? Something like they're not competent. They don't even pretend to be. And I thought, yeah, well, you're not one to talk about pretending because you have a wife pretending, pretend wife that snowed the American people the whole time he was in office. Anyway, all right, let's go back. And, oh, yes. Let's look at this, because we can. California, man arrested for choking child minutes after release from jail. And I saw another one recently where they were released from jail over fears of COVID and immediately went out and murdered a grandmother. See, these are criminals. If you let them out of jail, they'll do crime, right? If you let them out before their time or before they've been properly served their sentence, like, what's wrong with these people? Are they trying to destabilize society? Yes. Anyway, here's this winner. A man was arrested last week for allegedly attempting to carjack a woman and then choking her young son just 10 minutes after being released from jail. Daniel Orozco, 28 years old, was released from the Monterey County, California jail after being arrested by highway patrol officers for allegedly driving while under the influence of drugs and driving the wrong way. After his arrest, Orozco was almost immediately released from jail. This isn't a situation where it's somebody that was doing time and then released, where the other one was. He was released and he immediately went and he murdered somebody. Just like the Green River Killer would have done if he had been released. And it was only one vote that kept him in prison, or he'd be out there right now murdering more women. He would. He's been fantasizing about it the whole time he's been in jail. So, yes, of course that's what he's going to do. He's a killer. He's going to kill. He's a serial killer, and he's going to kill serially. All right, so anyway, after his arrest, Orozco was almost immediately released from jail. About 10 minutes after his release, 10 minutes, Salinas Police Department officials said Orozco allegedly forced a female driver out of her car in a parking lot. Orozco, Salinas officials began said he began choking the woman's 11-year-old son after she refused to give him the keys to her car. Eventually, the woman gave Orozco her keys and pulled her son out of the car, Salinas officials said, and Orozco fled the scene. So I'm not going to get into that any further, but yeah, this is sad. It's sad. And you know what? If they're going to do the crime, they're obviously antisocial in that they don't have good. I mean, if they're going around choking and stealing choking young kids and stealing cars, or have been in jail for murdering, I don't feel sorry for them. They might get COVID. Oh well. You know, I mean, the people in the nursing homes didn't have a chance to get out, did they? Anyway, sorry. It makes me very angry because I love older people. I do, and I'm becoming one. It's all right. It's all right. I'm over it. Okay, let's look at this because we can. Tidal wave of delinquent mortgages set to surpass Great Recession. Now, this was from yesterday, with nearly 4 million homeowners in some type of mortgage forbearance plan, representing 7.54% of all mortgages. Delinquencies are set to eclipse the Great Recession, which peaked at 10%. According to a new report from UK-based forecasting firm Oxford Economics, 15% of homeowners will fall behind on their monthly mortgage payments in a tidal wave of delinquencies. Stimulus legislation signed by President Donald Trump allows any borrower with a federally backed mortgage to request forbearance for up to 12 months, meaning the homeowner can skip or make reduced payments during that time. Given the risk mortgage companies are facing right now, many lenders have imposed more stringent requirements for loan applicants. The uncertainty in the mortgage market has contributed to a significant tightening of lending standards that may persist even once a recovery is underway, Oxford Economics wrote. Yeah, I think we're going to be feeling the effects of this for a very long time. Like, even after everything gets open, I do think we're going to be feeling the effects of this, because you can't have people not working for that long and it not affect the economy. I mean, it's already affecting the economy. And while the pace of requests for forbearance has slowed in recent weeks, however, that could change. Although the pace of forbearance requests slowed this week, call volume picked up, which could be a sign that more borrowers are calling in to check their options now that May due dates have arrived, said Mortgage Bankers Association chief economist Mike Frattoni. Keep in mind that Oxford Economic forecast is half of the potential mortgage bloodbath predicted by Moody's chief economist Mark Zandi, who said that as many as 30% of Americans with home loans, or around 15 million households, may stop paying if the U.S. economy remains closed through the summer or beyond. We assume that a large percentage of Americans refusing to return to pre-pandemic consumption habits would have similar effects. This is an unprecedented event, said Susan Wachter, professor of real estate and finance at the Wharton School of the University of Pennsylvania, in comments last month. She also points out another way the current crisis is different from the 2008. The great financial crisis happened over a number of years. This is happening in a matter of months, a matter of weeks. So this is going to continue to have effects, no doubt. And I know that there are a lot of American families, not just Americans. I mean, there's families all over the world probably that are suffering because of this, but more so in places where they've absolutely shut the country down, which really has to be the first time in history that they've ever quarantined healthy people. But I digress. All right, let's go back. Okay, let's look at this. Someplace I would like to go, Madagascar. Why? I have no idea. I just do. I really do. Okay, WHO, meaning World Health Organization, offered $20 million bribe to poison COVID-19 cure. Madagascar President alleges. Do you believe it? I do. I do. They offered a $20 million bribe to poison COVID-19 cure. The president of Madagascar, Andy Rajolini, I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing that right, and if I'm butchering his name, please forgive me, has alleged that the World Health Organization, WHO, offered $20 million bribe to see the COVID-19 cure poisoned. Rajolini accused the World Health Organization of a plot to have its COVID-19 organics, the local African cure for the virus, poisoned. According to his claims, WHO offered $20 million bribe to poison their medicine. Tanzania Perspective reported on the front page of its 14th May edition. That's some pretty wild stuff, really. So the president of Madagascar believes the only reason the rest of the world has refused to treat Madagascar's cure for the coronavirus with urgency and respect is that the remedy comes from Africa. In an interview with French media, President Rajolini reportedly said he had noticed what he believes stems from unusual condescension toward Africans. I think the problem is that the drink comes from Africa, and they can't admit that a country like Madagascar has come up with this formula to save the world. What is the problem with COVID organics, really? Could it be that this product comes from Africa? Could it be that it's not okay for a country like Madagascar, which is the 63rd poorest country in the world, to have come up with this formula that can save the world? If it wasn't Madagascar, and if it was a European country that had actually discovered this remedy, there would be no such doubt. I don't think so. The president of Madagascar, if it wasn't Madagascar, and if it was a European country that had actually discovered this remedy, would there be so much doubt? I don't think so, the president of Madagascar, Andy Rajolini, asserted. The remedy, COVID Organics, is made from Artemisia, a plant imported into Madagascar in the 1970s from China to treat malaria. I've heard of that, actually. Artemisia, I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing that right, has been proven success against malaria, and according to President Rajolini, it can cure COVID-19 patients within 10 days. However, the WHO has criticized such natural therapeutic measures against CV as blind faith in response to the skepticism with which the WHO is treating the COVID organics. Rajolini says no country or organization will keep us from going forward. A host of other African countries, including Tanzania, Guinea, Bissau, Dominican Republic, Congo, and Niger, have imported the Madagascan made recipe. So anyway, I don't know, but there has to be a link there, because that's exactly what the drug treats, is malaria, and it works against COVID. So I don't think it's that much of a stretch to say that if this plant actually cures malaria, which I have heard of this plant, then I don't know. I don't think it's that big of a stretch. Why not try it and see? But, of course, that's never going to go over in the Western world, because if they can't make money from it, if it's a plant that grows out of the ground, they can't make big money from it. Well, they don't care about that. So let's go back. Okay. Now let's look at this. I don't know what to think about this. It says COVID internment camps being set up in Washington. I don't know about this, but are any of you guys in Washington State, not Washington, D.C., but Washington State, that could verify or shoot this down for us? It was revealed today that yesterday's conspiracy theories are today's headlines. Internment camps are being set up at county fairgrounds in Washington State to house COVID-1984 patients. The truth was announced through Representative Matt Shea, with an eyewitness coming forward and providing a photograph of the camps being assembled. Look, an isolation camp in Goldendale. When asked, the men stated they were bringing the trailer so if anyone tested positive for COVID-19, they could be brought there to be isolated. The witness confirmed that she spoke to the mayor of Goldendale, and it was, again, confirmed that these camps are being set up for COVID-19 84 patients. And I like that because this does feel with this virus that we are very much living in 1984, the novel. These mandatory camps are being set up through what can be called a mandatory grant of money, as these counties are being required to set up these camps before they can open any new businesses, yet cannot afford to do so. Trailers as well as tiny homes can be set up at the fairgrounds, and hotels, motels could be used in some cases, and it is required that these internment camps are to be in place before the counties can move to phase 2 of Governor Inslee's plans. Governor Jay Inslee said in the press conference of May 12th that if you cannot isolate safely at home as determined by the state health officer, then you will go to a place of the state's choosing. That is scary. Washington State is also advertising jobs for people to care for children in the camps. Are you kidding me? I would not let them near my children. Of course, I don't have any children. Of course, I can say that, but I would, if I did have children, I wouldn't let them get within 100 miles of them. Washington State is also, okay, for children, okay, and here it is, government jobs, specialist 3s, to care for children who are either COVID-19 positive or who have been exposed to COVID-19. There are 3 locations: Cedar Springs Camp, Lake Stevens, Washington, Visitation Center, Delridge Way, Southwest Seattle, Washington, Bethel Church, 600 Shockley Road, Richland, Washington. So, I don't know, we probably do have listeners here from Washington State, I would imagine. So if any of you are aware of these camps and can verify this for us, it would be very helpful. These workers are only going to be necessary if the children are going to be removed from their families. For those skeptics that do not believe it could really happen, please take note that the court order forms for involuntary detention into these camps is already in place. I don't have any difficulty believing it, and I don't have any difficulty in believing that the government would do it. Not at all. But my gosh, if that's happening, we're in big trouble, because seriously, can you imagine being taken out of your home by force and sent to a place of their choosing for a length of time of their choosing? Probably wouldn't give you the right medication either, I'm sure. And let's not forget that your government has precedence of placing its citizens into involuntary internment. Japanese internment camps were established during World War II by President Franklin Roosevelt through his Executive Order 9066. Yes, that was a sad time in American history. All right, now let's go back. Why? Because we can. And let's look at this. Okay, let's look at this. Jim Jordan. Documents tie whistleblower Eric the Carmel to Hunter Biden. Well. Now, this is from the 17th, so it's a couple days old, but you're not going to see this in the mainstream news. Declassified documents will show the purported whistleblower who triggered the impeachment of President Trump helped facilitate the Obama-Biden administration's interaction with the Ukrainian government related to Hunter Biden and the natural gas firm Burisma Holdings, according to Representative Jim Jordan, who I trust. And Jordan, the ranking Republican of the House Judiciary Committee, asked Secretary of State Mike Pompeo on Thursday to turn over the documents, reported Sarah Carter, who I trust. The lawmaker made the request after the release of redacted documentation he believes will show Democratic Party connections to Burisma and its founder, Mykola Zlochevsky. According to Jordan, the State Department documents will reveal that the alleged impeachment whistleblower, who everybody knows the name of, but they're still censoring, Eric Carmel, also played a role in facilitating the Obama-Biden administration's interaction with the Ukrainian government relating to Burisma and Hunter Biden. Hunter Biden collected some $3 million as a member of Burisma's board, despite having no experience in the natural gas industry. The arraignment was made when Biden's father, Vice President Joe Biden, was President Obama's point man for Ukraine policy. Burisma at the time was facing a corruption investigation by Ukraine's top prosecutor, the counterpart to the U.S. Attorney General. Joe Biden was captured on video in a panel discussion, boasting that he threatened to withhold $1 billion in U.S. aid from Ukraine if the prosecutor, who happened to be probing Burisma, was not fired. Ukraine complied. Jordan requested that the documents be delivered to the Intelligence Committee by May 28th. Yep. Jordan told Pompeo the documents show the whistleblower, as a National Security Council detailee, hosted a White House meeting with Ukrainian prosecutors in January 2016 regarding a concern that Hunter Biden's role with Burisma could complicate a potential prosecution of the company. The congressman said contemporaneous visitor logs confirm that numerous Ukrainian officials were present at the White House on the day of the meeting. Might have to have a cat intervention. Xander. I don't even want to tell you what he's doing. My poor couch. All right. Yeah, we're down here. Jordan said the documents also reference former Secretary of State John Kerry's stepson, Christopher Hines, and Devon Archer, who helped connect prominent Democrats and Burisma. Archer was also a member of the Burisma board. Hines partnered with Hunter Biden to form the Rosemont Seneca investment firm, but they parted ways in 2014 when Biden joined the Burisma board. Jordan cited a Wall Street Journal story saying Hunter Biden, Hines, and Archer may have been part of a board effort by Burisma to bring in well-connected Democrats during a period when the company was facing investigations backed not just by domestic Ukrainian forces, but by officials in the Obama administration. The Ohio Republican noted that during the House Democrats' partisan impeachment inquiry, several State Department officials said they raised concerns that Hunter Biden's role with Burisma, while his father oversaw Ukraine policy, had the appearance of a conflict of interest. Oh, it wasn't just the appearance. There was a conflict of interest. Deputy Assistant Secretary George Kent said the issue of Hunter Biden's paid role was raised directly with Vice President. Would you stop? Boy, he is just, he's been bad today for some reason. I think the claws are going to have to come out with him because he's, Sammy is well trained. He doesn't claw anything, but Xander, not so much. Anyway, Ambassador Marie Yovanovitch testified that Obama-Biden administration prepared her to answer questions about Hunter Biden's relationship with Burisma as part of her Senate confirmation process in 2016. She claimed she didn't know much about the subject. Oh my gosh, look at this. It's a little Trump garden gnome. I'm sorry, I get distracted far too easily. Anyway, that is very, very interesting. And let me see what else we have here. However, Jordan pointed out in a letter to Pompeo that State Department documents show U.S. Embassy staff in Ukraine emailed Yovanovitch a news article about Burisma's political bribes and flagged for her that Hunter Biden sat on its board. The embassy's deputy economic counselor confirmed to Ambassador Yovanovitch that nefarious allegations about Burisma in the article were true, telling her, "You can't make this stuff up," Jordan wrote. The ambassador also was notified September 15, 2016, in a letter from Burisma's attorneys at Kravitz, Swain, and Moore in New York City that Ukraine Prosecutor General Yuri Lysenko was dropping the corruption investigation into Burisma. Within 7 days of receiving the letter, Yovanovitch received a briefing at Kent's request about Zlochevsky, Burisma, Kavith, and image rehab campaigns and the past crimes surrounding Burisma and Zlochevsky. So There is still so much, and there's a little bit more here, but let me see. Ambassador Yovanovitch testified during her impeachment deposition that she could not recall a briefing about issues relating to Burisma. Jordan wrote, well, naturally she couldn't. They all have such terrible, terrible memories. You know, you can't blame them. They all have bad memories. All right. Now, I think what I'm going to do here is I'm going to break and I'm going to come back. Now, I know that I should be covering the Q post, but I don't want to tonight. How is that? I just would rather go through the news and do the Q post tomorrow. Why? I don't know. I just have more fun with the news. Can't help it. So I hope it's okay with you guys. I really do. But I think I'm going to do a second video on the news. Yeah, I think that's it. I think I've made up my mind. All right. Well, thank you guys so much for listening. And I'll be back. Really, I will. So I'll get this uploaded. And while it's uploading, I'll start recording the next one. All right, guys. You have a great night. A fantastic night. The best. And keep seeking truth.